Just be God.
You are now in the realm of enlightenment and transformation, as brought to you by the Foundational Friday. Our core aim is to present an experience, an opportunity for your soul to reascend to its place of origin by cultivating a healthier spiritual awareness and emotional maturity. This show serves as a free offering to the greater community and an addendum requirement for all Anu spiritual training students. For all those listening, if you'd like to move closer to the calculations and fundamental understandings of the Anu order, be sure to pick up the book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. If you desire a spiritual reading to help you map your current spiritual position in the face of your world and learn the greatest pathways for your fortune in this season, you can go to the saduluhouse.com. That is SADULUHOUSE.com. You can also go to orishareligion.com to find out how you can become a student and member of the new spiritual order. That's ORISHARELIGION.com. Let us begin.
Greetings, everyone. Here we are again, Foundational Friday. We have another session going on, and I am your conductor on this journey, Yuya Asan Anu, Chief Jegna of the Anu Spiritual Order, Head Instructor of the Sadulu House Spiritual Center, where we are always pleased, delighted, and honored to bring you self-actualizing spiritual education and healthy bonding experiences where you're able to bond with your higher self and reflect that higher self as you should. So in this episode, we're going to be dealing with a real good topic. I feel real interesting one that's certainly needed with everyone. We're going to be dealing with concepts and ideas of money or currency more specifically, and how currency relates itself to spiritual current. Okay. And when we're speaking about currency, we're speaking about wealth, financial currency, money. Okay. So everyone wants to talk about money. I get a lot of emails. I think I read some even last Q&A where people were writing in saying simply, I want to be rich and successful. What do I do? Okay. So that's always a very big topic, or at least it's always a big area of contention for people nowadays, especially with the current economic climate and people coming to the realization that it's not going to get better. And the statistics that have been put out saying that it is better or is getting better have basically been, they're bogus. You know, so people are trying to tap into their spiritual and metaphysical understandings at this time and use a greater measure of creative financing, which I am all for. So I figure now will be an excellent time to share some information and maybe a different perspective on how one can go about acquiring wealth for their homestead in order to maintain the liberty of said homestead. Of course, as many shows before that, we're going to get into a little housekeeping. Of course, first, definitely check out Anu Asafo this Sunday at 1 p.m. Okay, last Sunday, we did a show on homosexuality within the African spiritual traditions in the diaspora and African traditional religions. And it was a very interesting show. A lot of people had a lot of explosive reactions behind the scenes. You know, there was a lot of emotion behind that show. And a lot of it was based on one simple thing, and that's people didn't realize that, number one, I wasn't going to present the topic in a way where I was supporting homosexuality or heterosexuality, but I was only going to ask questions of people who say that they are living that lifestyle, but at the same time are able to reconcile that lifestyle with their spiritual understandings. So there's a lot of people in the spiritual communities who don't believe that they can be reconciled, who don't believe that the two belong in the same space together, and that it's actually impossible. So who best to ask if it's been possible for them, but someone who's actually going through that particular process. So last Sunday, I actually did, after my Friday Lakshmi show, which I urge you to check out too. I did a show on Lakshmi, which was pretty good. And then, we went into, on Sunday, I also hosted Anu Asafo, where we dealt with homosexuality and, the African spiritual religious realm or arena. And one of the things that, I had to tell people afterwards was that, I'm not a homosexual, so I'm not going to use language that is appeasing and pacifying to those who do identify themselves as homosexuals, especially because I'm one who doesn't agree with it. I never mentioned on the show why I don't agree with it, because I knew if I were to mention why I don't agree with it, that would take us down a whole different road, and this is a word for teachers. A lot of times you have to hold back on your wisdom to allow your students to come to their own process. I know without a shadow of a doubt that I can present information on homosexuality that cannot be refuted whatsoever. And even some of the questions that I asked on the show could not be answered. And they were very basic questions, but they couldn't be answered because in truth, there is no logical answer to it. There's only an emotional answer. But again, I never really got into why I'm against it, why I disagree with it, or what I do about my feeling, which is nothing but continue to be me. That's all. I'm against it, just like I'm against a lot of other things. So I haven't waged a campaign in a war against everything that I'm against, but I have no issue showing that this is the side that I stand on. And I stand on the shoulders of my Egun, of my ancestors, and I follow within that lineage and that path. Now, if other folks are feeling that they're doing the same thing, that's fine, because, your ancestors may not have done what my ancestors did. When we say ancestors, we have our personal blood lineage ancestors, and then we have our national ancestors, those who we all identify with, the Nelson Mandelas and the Eartha Kitts, and the Lena Horns and the Patrice Lumumbas. And, those would be more of our national ancestors, where they represent our nation. If we were to say that we actually have one, if we could just say, okay, we have a black nation, for instance. Okay, so I'm following my own call based on what my Egun have led me to, and more importantly, based on the body and the wisdom of information, knowledge, and understanding, wisdom and understanding that I've been able to acquire up until this point. It gets really interesting when you disagree with someone sometimes, and these traditions, people will listen to my shows in and out and say, wow, this is amazing. This is genius information and material. I've never heard it broken down like this. But as soon as I say something that disagrees with something they feel, now all of a sudden they have to school me and I don't know anything. As almost to say, well, you can be extremely analytical, extremely on point in this one area, but when it comes to this one, you know nothing about it. And that's just, that's BS, basically, for lack of a better word. That's just BS. People a lot of times don't want to face the truth of what they're actually doing, or don't want to face this one simple truth. And that's the fact that we all came down here to get corrupted. So there's very few activities that you're going to engage in, especially the ones that you place an identity label on, that are not corrupt. Most things you place an identity label on have already been corrupted. Even if you're calling yourself a father, a mother, a daughter, an uncle, you don't even know what it is to be those things. A spirit worker, you're still corrupted. Even in your spiritual work, you're not pure. What you're doing as a spiritual worker is you're channeling the pure energy to the person. You don't want to give your energy because yours is tainted and compromised. So you have learned how to channel it. Just like I can channel information to you while I'm doing a show, but sometimes it's hard for people to understand that concept, or they can't separate themselves from their activities. And if that's a real big challenge for people, then they need to really be focusing on that first before they start trying to get into a lot other deeper levels of this information, because you won't understand it, because that identity that you've locked yourself into, that you feel you can't separate yourself from, will always be your stumbling block, because that identity is going to fight for survival. It's going to fight for its liberties, for its longevity, so it can always be. And if something is presented to that identity that threatens its livelihood, it's going to fight and buck back, and it's going to create all kind of stirrings and and ideas in your head in order so that it can stay alive. So that's not, I'm just speaking about homosexuality. There's a lot of points sometimes that people feel they need to hold on to. Some people have a victim persona that they master. And when you start giving them information that shows them that they're not actually being hunted, but in truth, they're the hunter, because they're the ones hunting for people to feel sorry for them all the time. And if you don't, they begin to attack you. If you tell them that starts to shed light on the victim personality. And once you shed light on a spirit, it begins to dissipate. Because remember, spirits do not live in light. They live in the dark. So people have a lot of dark energies around them that are fighting and scrambling for their own survival. And that makes them sometimes not want to hear certain things or unable to hear certain things. And I did a show on this some time ago when I dealt with the concept of being deaf, dumb, and blind. So, we deal with that at times, but I don't deal with it really. It's not my problem. I have bigger fish to fry. I got hundreds of students literally that reach out to me daily, that need information, that need guidance, that need instruction. So I really am not here to try to accept anyone and what they're doing, especially if I know without a shadow of a doubt that it's wrong. Plain and simple, and again, I'm not speaking about homosexuality. I'm speaking in general. I know sometimes when you start speaking, if you just mention the word homosexuality, anything that comes out of your mouth after that gets generalized and gets labeled, and words get put in your mouth, and then they throw it all into the batch, which is one of the things that happened. There were things that the guest said on that show that I got blamed for, things that I didn't even say. So again, that's a response of emotionalism, and that's certainly a very slick and strategic response. It's very strategic to not really listen and respond to what's being said, or to quote somebody verbatim. If you have a problem with what someone said, say, well, hey, you said this verbatim, and this is how I feel about what you said, as opposed to just ranting about your emotions. That's not going to get it. It's certainly not going to get it with me, maybe with someone else, but not with me. So I give you that introduction and that lead for a reason. I did a show last night, late in the wee hours, for those of us on the Eastern Seaboard. And the name of the show, well, the station was Knucklebone Radio. I keep saying Knucklehead Radio, but Knucklebone Radio. And it was with a fella by the name of Larry out of California. And we went on at 1 a.m. Eastern, which was, it's about 10 p.m. out there in California. And basically the show, he declared very early on that he's a Christian, and he wanted to get some information about what I do. But it was clear that he was trying to begin to ask questions to really refute Ifa, to refute Orisha tradition. And I didn't know he was going to do that. So it was actually an ambush. But I had a feeling, and that's that intuition. That's that Ori. So I kind of had, I was kind of listening with my good ear, as I was preparing to do the show, just kind of listening to messages that were coming through. But he had these two hecklers on by the name of, it was either Joe or Joey, or Joe and Jamie, or I don't know, but two clowns basically. And these two guys, they were asking me some very disrespectful questions, and I was responding in a manner which was disrespectful back to them. But I'm explaining what disrespectful means for me. Because they were asking questions that were disrespectful, I was speaking about things that dealt with divinity. Now, the word respect means to see God. Ra, divine light. Spect means to see. Or re even means to go back, just like religion. But to go back and see. So once you go back to the source and see who resides at the source, God, or Ra, divine light, right? So I'm speaking about divine light. I'm speaking about Ra. I'm speaking about spiritual matters. These guys started saying things that clearly were not in alignment with what we were speaking about. One question a guy asked me was, do I wear a daishiki and a top hat and dance around a fire chanting voodoo chants? So, I responded with I invoked my Shango. My Shango and my Eshu said, you know what, we're just going to play with them because these are two idiots. So why would you give your gems to idiots? So my disrespectful response was to do this because I don't see Ra in your question. You will receive no Ra in return. you will receive nothing but fodder. And then you can go play with that. But in truth, there was a latent and subversive thing that I was doing, because I was still giving information, but I was giving information subduing them. I was giving information in the direction that I wanted to give information by using the energy of Shango. Now, I didn't do any big ritual when we were on the air. I didn't say, Shango, come to me, Obako so, Watete wa, Shango dide. I didn't say anything like that. I just said, okay, time to be Shango, Yuya. All right now, for next couple minutes, you're going to be Shango. And you're also going to work with this Eshu energy, where you're going to be able to peep out the disorder, and you're going to be very quick of wit, so you can understand what they're trying to say very quickly. Because it could have turned into a very embarrassing situation. And I suspect there was some level of good cop, bad cop. Larry set that up because he let them just keep talking. They were rude. He never, I think he muted their mic once, but they really should have just been taken off. And they were on there the whole time, just being rude and disrespectful, to the point that one of the other callers, supporters of his show, said, I wish they would stop, because you have a very serious guest on and he's got some very interesting information and we're missing it because of these silly questions that they're asking him. And all the while I just giggled and laughed and did my Oshun thing and my Shango thing and ha ha ha, funny guys, but listen here, and just kept throwing hot volcanic rocks at him. So I say that to say this, and this is why I introed it with the conversation about the show about homosexuality and how people received it. If people felt that what was being said was completely foolish and there was no divinity in it, then why would you receive it? You see, when these guys were speaking, they were trying to volley a serve to me, just like you play volleyball or ping pong or badminton or tennis. They try to send the ball to you. I don't have to run after it and hit it back. I could just let it go off into the abyss. Or I don't have to catch it. Instead of playing catch with you, how about I play badminton? You hit it to me, I hit it back. Hit it to me, I hit it back. I'm not holding on to your lunacy. Interesting enough, we just came into the lunar new year, but I'm not holding anyone's lunacy. I deal with this on a daily basis when I'm dealing with clients. You start telling them things, giving them information, and they start, me? Well, that doesn't make sense to me, because I'm a wonderful person. I've never done anything to anyone. And then you keep talking to them, and then they start revealing, well, I did cheat on my husband once. I did cheat on my wife. And, okay, but you just said you never did anything to anyone. You see, but there's a student of mine by the name of Celeste. And she said something once. She was referring to the qualities of a good teacher and, giving me some props. And she said, he's someone who always holds his ground, whether you like it or not. And what happens is when I do that, you eventually come around to seeing there's a reason why I'm the teacher and you're the student. You don't know as much as I do. So if I bend every time you throw out some emotion, we won't get anywhere. You didn't come to me to have your ego stroked or to have all of the information that you currently have affirmed. Because a lot of you who think you have a good information, it's really not. I just don't always say something about it, because then you would feel crushed and discouraged. So sometimes I'll let you go on and I'll throw you a little gem and say, well, hey, you ever thought about it like this? You ever looked at it this? Maybe you can add this into your theory. And that's the gentle hand that guides a student along. It's not always, oh, you sound ridiculous. Well, why would you say something like that? It's this. So a lot of times, even when I'm doing these shows, I think people are sometimes a bit surprised, especially those who know me personally, because they know how nerdy I can actually be when I want to be. How technical I can be when it comes to spirituality, and how deep, quote unquote, things can get when I start really exchanging with someone at a certain level. But this show, so they're always surprised, like, oh, I thought you were going to be hitting this and that. You always talk about this behind the scenes. Yeah, but the masses are not really ready for that. You're not going to feed a baby, a steak. So you have to I'm not saying that you're all babies, but a lot of you are. So out of consideration and courtesy and love, there's a certain way I have to present the information that I present to you, but more importantly, when you have someone who's disagreeing with you, it doesn't mean that they're rejecting you. So just because these guys are making jokes, I didn't take it personal. I just said, these are two fools. That's all. They don't want people to learn. They're not even engaging me in questions that are actually challenging, that would actually maybe show some holes in the armor of the information that I'm presenting. They're just being stupid. That's it. So there are a lot of people who would have been on that show and would have been infuriated. And clearly that's what somebody wanted at first. I'm not going to say it was the host or them, but clearly somebody wanted me to flip out and curse them out and say a bunch of things so then they can affirm the lunacy of African priest or Yoruba priest, or what they kept calling me, the new age African guy, stuff like that. But I came onto the show as a gentleman and I left as a gentleman. You know, actually I don't want to use that term because a gentleman is really a sucker, but I came on as a king and left as a king. And one of the tools that I used to remain on my throne was I recognize that I'm a king. So there's a word that we use in the English language that you can use in court, in a court of law, that's very effective. When a judge asks you a question and tries to posture themselves as a ruler or nobility, which is against the law, actually, by the way, when they say, hey, call me your honor. By law, you're not actually supposed to do that. You're also not supposed to call anybody Esquire. That's also illegal. But that's what lawyers put behind their name. Esquire, your honor, those are titles of nobility, which have been outlawed in this country for a very long time. But if you're going to try to make yourself a nobleman, taking us back to England, then I'm going to be a king because I am the master of my own defense, and then I'm the master of my own soul, right? The only one I have to really answer to is my God, even if my God is me. But that's the only one I have to answer to. So the best way to maintain your royalty and your diadem is to start with a series of asking. Now, I want you to look at that word for a second. Break it down. ASKING. So when I'm in that situation, I function as king. I function as king. Asking. You ask me a stupid question, I'll ask you one right back. Hey, so what does your name Yuya mean anyway? Ha 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 ha. What do you mean? I mean, what does your name mean? Well, what part of it? What do you mean? I don't know what do you mean, because it's like there's a million things that you can say about a name. You know what I'm saying, man. What are you saying? You see what I'm doing? I'm playing volleyball right now. You ask me, I ask you. You ask me, I ask you. You ask me, I ask you. Why? Because I'm maintaining my position as king. All right. So that's a little game for you all. You know, use that in court. Next time a judge asks you a question, are you a resident of so-and-so? Am I required by law to answer that question? Were you driving on so-and-so, so-and-so? Sir, could you define driving? Were you driving a motor vehicle? Could you define a motor vehicle? What is and then they say something else. Well, what is a motor vehicle versus a passenger vehicle? They don't want to answer that one, because then you'd find out how fictitious your plates and your license and all that garbage are. But maintain your position as king. So even for you people who are same gender loving, SGL, who felt some type of way, quote unquote, about the show, maintain your throne as king. If you're royalty, maintain that. You know, no one can take that from you. But we're going to get back into the show, and we're going to deal with the ideas of currency, spiritual currency, and how it relates itself to financial currency. And we're going to tap into a very interesting area in this one. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. But of course, as I've been doing lately, I will be taking a quick break right now, and I'll be right back with it. All right? Stay tuned. You're going to enjoy this one.
For all those in the Rhode Island area, please check out our Chief Jegna, H. Yuya Asan Anu, at Positive New Beginnings on Saturday, February 8th from 2 to 4 p.m., where he will be hosting a workshop on self-actualization with the cosmic forces of West Africa. In this workshop, you will learn how to self-actualize through the universal energies that govern the laws and character of the cosmos. This workshop is a continuation of the Unleashing of Cosmic Forces of West Africa series that is currently being enjoyed by thousands of listeners on Chief Yuya's popular Blog Talk radio show, Enlightenment and Transformation. At this workshop, 15-minute readings will be offered for $20, as well as the Phase 1 spiritual training class will be offered at 50% off for the workshop Self-Actualization with the Cosmic Forces of West Africa. The workshop is Saturday, February 8th from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at Positive New Beginnings, which is located at 877 Broadway, East Providence, Rhode Island. The cost of this event is $13 at the door. However, as a special discount for those who RSVP on meetup.com and pay in advance, your entrance fee will only be $10. The meetup site is www.meetup.com/African-spirit-workers. Be prepared to change your life through aligning your spiritual faculties with their corresponding cosmic archetypes. Meet Chief Jugna H. Yuya Asan Anu at Positive New Beginnings on Saturday, February 8th from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, located at 877 Broadway, East Providence, Rhode Island, for the workshop Self-Actualization with the Cosmic Forces of West Africa.
All right. And we're back again, Foundational Friday on Enlightenment and Transformation. I am H. Yuya Asan Anu, and I am your conductor through this journey in this moment. Whether you're listening from the archives or you're listening live with us, I am here just to channel, assist, and be an agent of transformation. It's really you and your soul doing all the work. I'm just doing the pass off. Similar to what I said earlier about asking. Okay, when you're in those situations where you feel like your way of life is being attacked, or it is being attacked, you know, you have to first posture yourself and never leave your throne for anything. Never leave your throne. If any of you out there play chess, you know that once you start moving your king, you're in trouble. Okay, once you lose that front line, okay, all the pawns are gone. They took your queen. You know, the rooks are stuck somewhere. You know, the bishops are locked in, and now you're being chased around. Your king is being chased around, which is getting ready to put you in a place of end game. Then you know you're in trouble. Once the king moves off of his position. Okay, so, and just understand when I'm saying king, I'm talking male and female. Just, you know, just understand the metaphor. Okay, but so you don't actually have to ever remove off. If you're playing chess properly, you'll never leave your throne. Show last night was nothing but a chess match, and I was playing with individuals who were playing checkers. All right, so, you know, just a little, like I said, a little game for you. And once you have game peeps game. So I peeped the game from the door and knew what to do. And I'm giving that to all of you who may have some challenges there, you know, and kind of holding your strength and holding your head in the face of opposition or people who are just not down with what you're doing. Everyone doesn't have to be. It's going to happen sometime. All right. But anyway, in this show, I want to tap into, again, this idea of spiritual currency and how it relates to our financial currency. And I'm going to tell you guys now, I'm going to warn you, this is going to be a 2-part show. I will probably do, like I did a couple of times before, just one during the strong, or week, as some people like to say. But during the strong, I'll probably do another one, because there's a lot that I want to touch on here, and I already know that I'm not going to be able to get through all of it. So let's start with something simple. All right. And a lot of us, you know, you hear me a lot of times, I mention that movie, The Secret, you know, dealing with the law of attraction, right? And I mention that because a lot of people are familiar with it. So it's kind of a easy reference point, just like I mentioned The Matrix, that movie a lot, because a lot of people who are interested in deeper awareness and, you know, or higher awareness, a lot of people are know what it is. Okay. So, you know, in dealing with that idea and dealing with the idea of the Matrix, or more so dealing with the idea of The Secret, right? Where we had this movie where we had a bunch of Rosicrucians, and these Rosicrucians, they quote unquote released this idea to the general public of the law of attraction, which is basically the things that you place your mind on are the things that will come into your life experience, because the reality is that we're defining and creating our life experience as it's unfolding. So it's almost like, you know, putting a bike together while you're riding it. You know, so based on the terrain and your reaction to the terrain and your reaction to going fast down a hill or having to struggle up a hill, you're going to build the bike in a certain type of manner as a response to your environment. Okay, so the laws of attraction try to get a person to think above and beyond the ideas, the tenets, and, you know, the things that are in their immediate environment, and it tries to get them to tap into some more deliberate construction as it comes to their thoughts. It tries to get them to tap into that, you know. So what we're really dealing here with, you know, I just want to tap into the idea of the laws of attraction for a moment, because I'm going to use a model for you all that may help you in what we're doing, and I'm going to use the model of the 7 hermetic laws. Some people maybe have heard about the 7 hermetic laws. If you haven't heard about it, you might have heard about the 7 universal laws. These laws come out of the hermetic laws, and I'm going to explain what that means and how it relates itself to money. You know, where we're going with this. And in this particular episode, I might just focus on the laws for right now, and then I'll do the correlation in our part 2, so that way I don't have to leave out too much. You know, I always leave out a good chunk anyway. Just try to keep things basic. And plus, if you want the deeper information, join our new spiritual training. Go over to seduluhouse.com, put in that coupon code, seduluhouse.com, and sign up for classes using the coupon code seduluhouse.com. Or you could use the coupon code orishareligion.com. However you get there. But when you want the deeper and more cutting aspects of what we're talking about, you know, you have to become a student for that. But I still aim to give something very nutritious in this experience, but there's only but so much time I have when I'm doing these shows. So as a student, you know, I get to spend more time and I can go deeper beneath the surface. But in any event, so you have these 7 hermetic laws, right? And a lot of times, as soon as you say things like hermetics, people start to like twist their face up like hermetics. That sounds like some Hebraic stuff, you know, and it's not. It's just when you don't know the words, or you don't realize that the words have been taken from you, things get a little confusing. Okay. But the 7 hermetic laws come out of a book by the name of the Kybalion. Okay, spelled Kybalion, the Kybalion. And the Kybalion was written by a person known as Hermes Trismegistus, right? Now, Hermes Trismegistus, which is Greek. This is the Greek word, Kybalion, Greek, okay? But Hermes Trismegistus is actually the archetype Hermes. Okay, but Hermes Trismegistus, you know, Hermes, the name Hermes, right? You know, it's Hermes, the one with the wings on his feet and everything. But when you put the Trismegistus with it, Hermes Trismegistus is Thoth. Okay, the archetype of wisdom and the scribe. Now we know the original name for Thoth was Tahuti, or in our Yoruba, Orunmila, right? So we have this aspect known as Thoth or Tahuti. Hermes Trismegistus is Tahuti. Tahuti wrote the Kybalion. It is not Greek. It is not Jewish. It is not Hebraic. It is Kemetic. So that's why when you looked at the movie The Secret, you saw the book Buried in Egypt. Okay, see, they always tell you, but they just have a real slick way of telling you. So certain people get to pick up on it, but the masses don't really. But you find again with that book, you know, the person was being chased by Romans and he hid the book in the sand. This is Kemetic stuff. Okay, but the law of attraction came out of the 7 hermetic laws, and those laws, just so you know, again, when we're dealing with Hermes, it's a very deep term. There's actually a term called hermenical, right? Hermenical. And hermenical is a term that's used in glassware and like manufacturing. It's called hermenical sealing. And it comes from the term Hermes, because Hermes Trismegistus, or Tahuti, is said to be the father of alchemy. The father of alchemy, or like how we have in the Orisha tradition where different Orisha are over different forces, right? You know, so just like you have Orisha Oko, who are over agriculture, and Osayin, who is over the alchemy that is done with plant life. Tahuti or Orunmila deals with the alchemy of the mind. All right. So he's actually the patron of alchemy. So this form of hermetical sealing is a sealing that's typically done with glass. OK, so these are just manufacturing terms. These are not even anything that you'd find in a book of esoteric information. This is what you'd be talking about on the job and would probably have no idea that you're talking about Tahuti, that you're talking about Hermes, who's also a form of Eshu, so because he's a messenger. Right. So again, I just wanted to make that clear before we go on that we're not talking about anything but source information. We're going right back to the source. But you have these 7 hermetic laws, right? And the first one that's usually cited is the principle of mentalism. Then you have the principle of correspondence. You have the law of vibration. You have the law of the principle of polarity. You have the law of rhythm, the principle of cause and effect, and the laws of gender, or the law of gender, right? And these are the 7 laws that make up the 7 hermetic universal laws. Now, starting with the idea of mentalism, which is the first law, which is such a critical one, because now you notice in that you didn't see the law of attraction, but the law of attraction does come out of the 7 hermetic laws. Okay. And I'm going to show you how. It's just a really slick thing that they did when they put that together. And in truth, it was actually Esther Hicks who took issue with that. She had a problem with that because she actually did want to cite some of the Kemetic resources. And that's why if you ever look at The Secret, there's actually 2 versions of it. There's one with Esther Hicks and she's giving a lot of information. There's one where it's like real shortened and you don't see her too much and she's replaced because she had a problem with them and they had some type of battle that went back and forth or whatever. I don't know. But in any event, okay. So the law of mentalism, why it's so critical to the law of attraction, because when you're dealing with the law of attraction, it's like, okay, I want money, visualize money, write myself a vision board. Okay, cool. But where is the mental compass? Where is the moral compass? Okay, we can speak abundance until we're blue in the face, but is that what we really need? Do you need a lot? This kind of sound like gluttony, right? What about the mental compass and the moral compass that determines first the cause or the originating point of the things that you're seeking to attract into your life? Because I could just say, hey, well, I like this woman who works in a coffee shop. I'm going to put pictures of her all around my room. It sounds kind of creepy. People do it. And I'm going to put candles in front of it and I'm just going to focus on her energy all day and night. And next thing you know, she starts giving me energy and she starts relating to me and speaking to me. And then I find out eventually that it's not a good thing. Maybe I'm not good for her. She's not good for me. But that's because I didn't have that moral or mental check off first. I just went right into gimme, attract, gimme. Whatever I see, I want. There's a problem there, right? Because when you're dealing with mentalism, you're conjuring things through your imagination. So there's things that you don't see that your mind will reveal to you. Okay? So the idea of mentalism, as expressed through the Kabbalion, there's a quote in it, and it says, the all is mind, the universe is mental. And what that particularly means, is that when we're speaking about the all, we're speaking about all the things that make up this amazing miracle that we call life. That is the all. Okay. So this amazing miracle of life is actually an intelligence. That's why sometimes when you hear me speak, you hear me say the supreme intelligence. Okay. So it's not that these things are happening accidentally or life moves and progresses and evolves in a haphazard manner. But it's actually a mind, and the universe is a mental place. Okay. So if we can understand what that means, that the universe is a mind, or the all things and creations are a mind, we can understand that the mind itself is a womb and is the womb of all creation. So it can create your physical reality, or it can help to usher in and be the gateway to your spiritual reality. But the mind can block that. That's that Eshu, the gatekeeper. That's that ego, what I was talking about earlier in the show. For instance, I could have came to a revelation when I did that show last night, right? But let's say if my temper flared up and I became angry and I felt offended, like My identity is being attacked, and somehow I'm dying because of these things that they're saying to me is changing who I am. And I can't stand for this. That's that ego flaring up and trying to protect its identity. So then what happens is that now it creates a blockage. That creates a blockage to the crossroad of you going to your higher place, going up beyond that heart chakra. And it goes down into the root chakra where you feel like you need to control and have power over your physical environment or your human or temporary identity. You see? So the law of mentalism is very important, because once you understand the law of mentalism, you understand that the brain is an important thing while we are here in our created and phenomenal universe, because this universe is a phenomenon unto itself. So while we are here, it is important to sharpen and open the mind. Open the mind. By opening up the mind, you become the onibode, as we say in Yoruba, or the gatekeeper. That's the Hemendal aspect. All right. You can close the mind up through ego. Once the mind is closed up through ego and too much investment in the root chakra, you're now focused primarily on what it is that I can get, what it is that I can take. Okay. What it is that I need for my physical survival. And once that becomes your focus, then whatever it is that you create or you attract to yourself after that becomes a product of your fear of scarcity. All right. So mentalism is extremely important when we're dealing with the law of attraction. And, how this relates itself to our money is this. You will expend your money or your currency based on where your mind places the majority of its focus to. So you can learn and understand the mind of a people or the mind of a group of people just by looking at their expenditures. All right. So there's no way you can be thinking all the time about, I want some rims and I want a new car and I want a leather jacket with beads on it. And at my next birthday party, I want to have Sheila E. come through and play the drums for me and stuff like that. And, if you're thinking like that, and in those terms, and your mind is constantly focusing its attention to that, then that's the bike that you're building while you're going. Remember I said it's like building a bike while you're riding it, because your response to the world is a response based on what your physical condition is. And there's a difference between your physical situation, I should say. There's a difference between your condition and your situation. Okay. There's a difference between your condition and your situation. All right. So your situation, right, is how you respond to your condition. Your situation is how you respond to your condition. Well, how do you become aware of your condition or your conditioning? Through the gateway of the mind. All right. Tapping into that universal aspect that the universe is mental. The all is the mind. So when we're dealing with the all is the mind, that's also dealing with the subcontext of what we call heaven. Because the all relates itself to, we say like the all in all, right? Well, what is the all in all, aside from something that just sounds poetic and sounds pretty? The all in all is a spiritual and unseen subcontext that lies beneath all of reality. That is the all. And that within itself is mental. Okay? So that's why we say things like, or you hear me say things like, the Orisha want to have intelligent conversation with you. Stop asking them to get a mate, but ask them to teach you the concepts of attraction. Okay. And not just attraction, I look pretty, but how do I draw into me that which is best for me, that which complements me best? So again, this relates itself to how we choose to flow money into our life. What is our concept of money? Is our concept of money immediately attached to a material possession? Because if you attach your concept of money immediately to a material possession, then that materialism, think about the word here, because who is the Lord or the archetype or the patron of materialism? Set. Set is also the aspect of your human mind, or Eshu. They deal with your human mind. Your human mind will always seek to block the flow of spiritual information or spiritual evolution into your life. Because the more that you allow spiritual flow into your life and release egoic holes that your mind may have, the more you let that flow come through, the less you need the mind. Okay. The less you start to deal with intuition, the more you start to deal with intuition, the more you start to deal with instinct, the more you start to just deal with spiritual urges and hankerings. So the mind becomes less important. Not that it's ever something that we need to get rid of, but the mind is looking to be conditioned. The mind is conditioned by the spirit. The spirit is conditioned by the soul. Okay. So again, if you have an immediate attachment to all things wealth or all things of riches, and all things of riches immediately connect itself to your, to a material object. Okay. Then the mind will only relate those two things together. So the mind will say your need for money is a need for more ego. And as long as I give you higher levels and a more thicker incrustation of ego, you don't actually need the money. You don't need the wealth, because the wealth represents a flow. And I don't want flow. I want things to be as slow as possible. I actually want wealth, flow, and currency to drip into your life. Just enough for you to sit back and think about and be fearful of not having, because the more fearful you are, the more stronger the ego will become. Okay. So the all is the mind, and the all is looking for you to open up its own gateways so that the universe can expand. That's why the second part to that phrase in the Kabbalion is the universe is mental. The universe is mental. So if the universe is mental, then can the universe learn something? Certainly. The universe learns things every time you tap into your imaginative energy. Your imaginative energy comes from your spirit. The universe is looking to be fed from your spirit, not from your intellectualism. The universe is looking to be fed from your spirit. Money comes through the form of mental magic through spiritual intellect. Spiritual intellect oversees and opens up the binds of human ignorance. You can see this, for example, when if you listen to the show. And just as a note for that show, you can check it out. It's on YouTube. And because, I usually make a video of the shows that I do, because most people, or a lot of people, not on Blog Talk, so a lot of people come into the YouTube videos. But if you just go on the Anu Nation page, youtube.com/Anu Nation, ANUNATION. Also, please, everybody subscribe to that YouTube page, youtube.com/ANUNATION, Anu Nation, and subscribe there. But you'll see the video, which will give you the show that I did with Larry at Knucklebone Radio and his two amazing racist hecklers. But so definitely check it out, because there's a much clearer copy too of what was on Blog Talk, because their audio quality is terrible. So aside from that, let's get back to our understanding of the laws of mentalism and how they relate to finances. Once we understand that the universe is the mind, and that the mind itself is comprised of the same matter that it uses to create our reality, then we understand that they're one, right? So this takes us back to the same theory as the things that we put our thoughts to are the things that manifest in our world. Okay. But those things that we put our thought to are created of the same substance. The mind itself is a substance. So the universe itself, or the world that we know it, is a product of the universe's mind. Okay. And the products, the things that we see that are energized in our environment, are made of the same atomic structure that the mind or thought is made of. They're made of the same exact thing. Okay. So if you want money, one only needs to think from the atomic, or the atum, atumare, the atomic aspect of wealth and of flow. Okay, because they're made of the same things. The money that you have in your pocket is made of the same substance of that thought. If you picture in your head right now a picture of money, they're made of the exact same thing. This is the aspect of, again, the universe is mental, because the universe is comprised of mind matter. The planet Earth is nothing but a product of something's mind matter. You are a product of mind matter. Your life and your existence and your destiny is a product of mind matter. How do we know? Because we know in the Yoruba system, we say that is the ori that holds the destiny of a person. It is the head, the mind, the brain, okay, that holds the destiny. Because as you're living this life, your ori, which is made of the substance that creates life, is creating and orchestrating the life based on your character. Okay? So this is how money is placed in your life or not placed in your life. It all depends on how you attach yourself to the thoughts of money. Okay, or the thoughts of wealth. And how you attach yourself to the thoughts of wealth. Is it immediately attached to a mental piece where it's only going to live and exist within this reality, or is it something that's attaching to the flow of energy and currency into your life? That is the supreme and the higher aspect of mentalism. That's why Oshun, a deity of abundance and wealth, is signified by a flowing clear river. Okay, the sweet waters, right? It's the flow of things. Okay, this is also a mental flow. All right. That mental flow is made of the same substance as financial flow. Mental flow is made up of financial flow. Egoic people who are not open to ideas maintain the old money that they have, but they really don't have a flow of money into their life. Even though it may appear that they do, they don't. They usually are sitting on old money, or these are the people who are jumping out of windows when the stock market crashes because of what their ego has been built up to. Another aspect, for those of you who, you need to also understand that quantum physics plays a really big part in the ideas of mentalism as it relates to money. And for those who don't know about quantum physics really just deals with how we measure energy. Okay. Because, when we talk about energy and, I feel your energy and this and that, and I got good energy and bad energy, it's kind of generic. It's pretty broad, but when the quantum physics or what we call quantum theory deals with measuring that energy in a unit that they call quanta. Okay. So your actual energy measurements can be measured, your energy units. This is something also that there is a whole movement going, in courts of law where people are saying, I'm going to this court, you're stressing me out, you're putting these false charges on me, or you're doing all kind of harassment. You're actually taking away energy units from my life, and I can measure those energy units and equate a dollar sign to those particular units that you extracted from me. This is a product of quantum physics. Okay. And quantum physics presupposes that, you have particles, and particles move in a certain motion, and that motion is random until they're given a stimulus by some source. And that source in effect can be a thought. Thought will make particles form, not just move in a random position. Remember, God looked down upon the face of the waters. I'm going back to Genesis in the Bible, and he saw that it was void and without form. Okay. This is the random movement of particles. So how do you organize those particles? Made light. You saw that light was good. Okay. Light helps to now bring order to that darkness, because if I encase the light inside of the darkness, meaning that he made man, that brings form and order to the particles. Okay. So one of the things also is that the atomic kingdom is different than this kingdom. Okay, and there are different rules and regulations that rule the atomic kingdom. One of which is dealing again with the idea of waves, like sound waves and particles being like just a piece of something, but all of these things we understand that don't just necessarily come as like how can I put it? Like a laser light that never turns off. A lot of people think of energy that way. Like they're just taking a mirror and reflecting it some way and pushing it that way and pushing it that way. And that's not really how energy presents itself through the theory of quantum theory. But really, we're dealing with particles that are units. So it's not like a unstopping flow of something. Okay. It's not unstopping, but each piece itself is segmented. Okay, it's segregated, each quanta or each unit of energy. Okay, so that would mean energy can be depleted. Money can be depleted. It's not a continuous flow. Once you understand that and you can get those ideas in your head, then you'll start to figure out ways, well, how can I, instead of spending my money randomly, moving the particles around randomly with no form, how do I use mentalism to put the money or put my thoughts more to a defined form? Okay. Once you start to put your ideas that are connected with wealth to a defined form, that's when those forms will manifest. Like in the Yoruba tradition, Omo or children is also considered wealth, just like Owo. Owo and Omo, they both mean children. Children are a form of wealth. They're a form of the flow, because if I put my thought to this and focus as I'm ejaculating into my consort, I am able now to create a child as a product, which is a formation of that void. Okay, so that's one of the aspects of mentalism. Again, mentalism, the thoughts that we have as we're going into something. And that, again, relates itself directly to the ideas of quantum theory or particle and wave duality, which is another science that's connected with that. But we're going to get into the law of duality. That's actually one of the hermetic principles is duality. Okay. But also, for those who are familiar with string theory relates itself also to quantum physics or to quantum theory, and also to the aspect of mentalism and using mentalism in order to vibrate at a certain space. Now, we have the law of vibration, which we're going to get into because it's another one. And really, the law of attraction really actually falls under the law of vibration. Like if we were to look at where the law of attraction would fall under these 7 hermetic principles, it would really fall under the law of vibration. But when you're dealing with string theory, you're dealing with a form of tension. Okay. And you have these different strings, and these various strings create the different representations or the different realities that can exist within the world, okay, or within the world as we know it. And there's a lot more to string theory. I mean, it's more than just the creation of a particular reality, but it really, what it deals with is the exciting or the stimulation of particles based on your ability to stretch. Because look at it just like it's a string. A string, you know, you can stretch out a string or you can make a string narrow, however. But when we're dealing with string theory, we're dealing with the idea of quantum gravity. Okay. But it deals with how we stretch things out. So again, the universe expands. How does the universe expand? The universe expands when you push the thresholds of your mind. This is a form of string theory. This is a form of mentalism. This form of mentalism expresses itself in how we perceive money. For instance, how wealthy can you be? Well, you'll be as wealthy as you can stretch the limits of your mind and perceive wealth to be. Some people will have $50,000 and don't know what to do with it. Like, that's more money than they would know what to do with. Okay. That's a string that's not really stretched. Okay. Somebody will have $500 million and not know what to do with it. Okay. Someone will have $500 million and know what to do with it. And they say, well, I want to make $1 billion with this. Okay. That's a string that's stretched. Okay. Now, that's just a real small, simple example. But when you're dealing with string theory, it's that basic understanding, you know, and you have 2 different forms. You have closed loops and you have open loops. But you have this theory that if you're stretching something or putting, certain measurements of gravity under strain or stretching, right? It will give rise to a certain reality. That stretching gives rise to a certain reality. Now, interesting enough, when you look at some of the dances in the Yoruba system, you see that, especially like the dances for Yemoja, you'll see that there's a lot of spinning with the arms held wide out on an angle. Okay. This is stretching the body out, stretching the wingspan of the arms. Now, when Yemoja stretches out, what happens? Well, when the womb stretches, the womb only really stretches really truly for a child to come out, for something to be produced. Okay. So these dance movements actually mimic that. Of course, knowing that Yemoja, her patron Odu is ED, which deals with wealth, or deals with materialism. We're again dealing with stretching out of the mind is what actually makes money. It's what actually creates wealth and money realities for us. So, like I said, there are 7 hermetic laws that we're going to tap into. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do maybe one per show. I decided, while I was teaching to actually do that. But the first one that we're looking at is mentalism. And by the time we get to the 7, you'll have the full package on how to use the 7 hermetic laws to generate wealth. Okay. So, with that is our show, folks. And make sure to check out Anu Asafo this Sunday. For those of you who want readings and consultations, I've been getting these emails. The information is in the intro and the outro of this show. Just go to the websites. There's forms there. You just fill out the form. For those of you who have customer service questions, you can always send an email to questions@anunation.org. Do not send them to me. Do not ask me questions about what's my password for the class site or when can I sign up for classes. That goes to customer service. Okay. I cannot stress that enough. Do not send me questions about getting readings and work done through Facebook. I am not a Facebooker. Okay. I'm not on there often. And most of the time I don't answer the emails that are in there because they're usually too much. There's a way that email is sent to me, especially my students. You send it through the Udemy forms, or any other form that I give you and say, hey, well, this is what you can use. All right. So, be sure, sign up for classes, get into the fold, get more information on the things that I'm talking about. Stay tuned for our new spiritual training phase 2. Well on its way. And also for those of you who are near Rhode Island, come check us out. It's going to be an interesting class. I think you all will enjoy it. I know you will, actually, because we're on a new mission now, and that mission is to make sure that all who are in the range of these programs and listen to them, because some people listen to these things religiously. I've come to find that out. They've let me know. Then it's time for you to actualize. It's time for you to get the things that you need. And the root chakra is at your base for a reason, because you have to secure your food, clothing, and shelter before you start moving up and tapping into your higher awareness and all that. If you don't have the root chakra down pat, then every ritual that you do is going to have that low level mental vibration. So that's what you're going to be forming. That's the particles that are going to take form in the rituals that you're going to do. So the first stop off you want to deal with is the aspect of mentalism. Mentalism creates the reality around you. The reality around you has to be one, like I said in the last show, that is a true soul ecosystem or spiritual ecosystem that supports your spiritual work, that supports your soul work. Look at the kingdom of Kemet or Egypt. They had all these beautiful temples, all these beautiful shrines. Do you not think that someone designed a political and social ecosystem that could support these great works that these priests were able to go on and do? Okay, there was an ecosystem first that was created before they went and started creating shrines and tombs and all the drawings and the paintings and all the amazing things that we still have yet to figure out. But with that is our show, my men and my women, and I look forward to speaking to you and hearing from you very soon on Next Strong's financial well, actually, it'll be probably Monday. We'll do the next ones. But we'll be going over the financial aspects of our spirituality and how to tap into them in a much more deliberate and spiritually intelligent way. It's time to get wealthy. All right. Peace, love, and power. Odabo.
We thank you for your listening support and urge you to become an active participating member of the Anu Order. Please be sure to follow our Ustream broadcast, which can be found at ustream.tv/channel/enlightenment and-transformation. That is USTREANSFORMATION. Also, please be sure to to sign up for the Anu newsletter, which can be found by going to anunation.org. That is ANUNATION.org. If you'd like to become a sponsor or an on-air guest on this or any of our other broadcasts, please be sure to contact us at questions@anunation.org. That is the word questions at anunation.org. Thank you for your continued support and be well.